First of all, how many people are familiar with ChatGPT? Okay, so just about everybody. And I'm going to tell you that I think this is probably one of the most important things that's happened in your life is this invention, because we now have something that mimics many elements of human intelligence. So I'm not quite as experienced as Mike here, but I've seen a number of sort of technological revolutions, and this one is really, really big. And we're familiar with the technology S-curve, right? How we start out with low adoption, goes up quickly. And so, we've seen something really astonishing come along, and we should all be both excited and maybe fearful at the same time of this thing. But you know what we don't know? We don't really know. We've just seen this thing. It can do these astonishing things, but is it here on the S-curve? Or let's try this again. There we go. Or are we about to go up to a whole new S-curve? And no one really knows what's going to happen next. But the point is that there is something very important that we have to deal with. So what do we need to do to deal with it in our organization that there's this amazing new tool that's come into existence? And I like this phrase from biology, multi-level competence. And so when you think about, well, what do we need to do? We need individuals who say, I know how to use these tools to be more productive. Right? That's kind of what's happening right now, is people are saying, I can use these tools to be much more productive. I can do things I couldn't do before. But that's not enough. We have to have departmental level competence. So we have to say, given that these tools exist, what does it mean for our departments? What does it mean for our jobs? Should we change the processes? So that's a different kind of competence from just an individual who knows how to, say, use the ChatGPT and Excel. And finally, we need corporate level competence, and we have to understand could this disrupt the business? And you may have heard that Google called sort of a code red, because ChatGPT could destroy half their search business. Maybe it won't, maybe it will, but if suddenly you're a multi-billion-dollar business and you think, you know what, we could lose half our business in a few years due to this new technology, that's a code red. So you want expertise at all those levels. Now, what's interesting is that we actually, and we being Mike, Pauline, and myself, as well as somebody out of Europe, actually did a project for the agency of the European Union a little over a year ago, where they were adapting to AI. So they were really ahead of the game. And so I'll just tell you a little bit about what happened and what we did. The point being that it's not just something we sit back and we sit and worry about or speculate about. There are actual things you can do in a corporation, like this EU agency did, and maybe some of the things they did are things you want to do. So they started at the strategic level, right? And maybe the slides are small, but basically they had a strategic vision that said, what's going to happen in the next 5 years? One of the things we should do is we should focus on AI. We should learn more about AI. And they decided we're going to staff that with a digital transformation team. So we're actually going to hire a bunch of smart IT people to create some capability to be able to deal with it. So that's happening. We talked about the sort of strategic level competence. So that's what's coming down from the top. They say, we need to figure out how this is going to affect us. What else did they do? The main thing that I worked on was this idea of energizing this interest in AI and this understanding of AI throughout the organization. So we would have meetings with each department, and HR would be there, IT would be there, but it was really focused on the department, and we say, let's think about innovation. What do we know about innovation? This is another innovation. Let's think about what artificial intelligence can do. Let's look at some examples of what it can do. And then more than anything else, let's discuss how does it affect us? Let's get it out of sort of the theoretical realm and into, we've got our priorities, we've got various pressures coming on. How does this all mean to us? One of the great things that it did is that it also creates a sense of community. So when we had these workshops, the point was that it was voluntary, right? And people weren't required to come to the workshops. So the people who came to the workshops were interested in innovation, interested in AI, interested in change. And when they got to the workshops, they discovered, you know what, there are these other people who share my values and my interest in this. I'm not alone. If I start pushing forward on this, there are these people around me who will support me. So that was a really important part of it. You know, some of the other things they did is they had quite an aggressive learning program. So they would bring in experts to talk about AI. They would have learning circles, right? So they get peers talking to each other to share ideas about, you know, not just AI, they had learning circles on lots of things, but they were deploying peer learning as a technique. And they were revising their training. So this is where we get into what some of the things HR really needed to do, and this is sort of the nitty-gritty. They had to update their job profiles. They say things are changing. Our job profiles are a mess, as we heard from Vizier, right? Job profiles can often be a mess, and they said, we got to clean this up. So that's a very tangible thing, but they clean that up. Who do we need to hire? Now that we have this new vision of where we're going, let's relook at the kind of people we're hiring, relook at the kind of skills we have, and maybe more broadly, a whole new training curriculum. So it's really, the takeaway here is that there are a lot of things you can actually do at different levels to prepare the organization to deal with this immense technological change that we've just seen. And so my question for you is to think about, where do we think we stand? Do we want to go sort of a minimalist approach? I don't have anything less than minimalist, right? I don't have to do nothing as an option. Minimalist approaches say we should at least have means for maintaining basic awareness within HR and across the organization. At least you want to understand what this tool can do, what some of the risks are. Just even if you're not deploying it for anything, you have to have basic awareness. Maybe you'll be moderate, where you say, well, at least we can have a moderate degree of the expertise through the organization so that it can be called on as needed. Or maybe you're going to go for an aggressive competitive approach, which is what the EU organization was doing, where they said, we want to be a leader on this. We're going to let this drive the transformation of our work. We're not going to be the people wondering what's happened to our organization because these big changes have happened around us. So anybody here maximalist? Yeah? How about moderate? Building expertise internally. Okay, so I don't see a lot of hands, so I think I'm going to presume everyone here is minimalist, but at least be there. I mean, and that's where you start. Maybe after you're minimalist for a month, you get excited and you move up to moderate. Okay, that's my presentation. Did I make my 5 minutes? Yeah, more or less. Here, thank you.